Sacred threads, a journey through the world's religions. Before temples rose or scriptures sang, before names like Yahweh, Buddha, or Allah echoed through history, humanity looked up at the stars and asked, "Why are we here?" Sacred Threads is a sweeping 15-part audio odyssey into the heart of our deepest yearnings, for meaning, for order, for the divine. From the silent meditations of Jain monks to the cosmic battles of Zoroastrian myth, from the fire of Sinai to the path beneath the Bodhi tree, this series traces the origins, stories, and living truths of the world's great religions, and the new ones still being born. You'll walk with prophets, philosophers, and skeptics. You'll witness the rise of sacred texts and hear the whispered doubts of those who walked away. And through it all, you'll discover not just what others believe, but what belief itself reveals about us. Whether you're faithful, skeptical, or just curious, this is more than a history of religions. It's a mirror, and the question it reflects is eternal. What do you worship when the world falls silent?
The dawn of religion.
Episode 7, The Middle Way, Buddhism. Prelude. Night cloaks the banks of the Neranjara River. A lone ascetic sits beneath a sprawling fig tree, legs crossed, back straight as an arrow forged of silence. He has eaten almost nothing for 49 days. Demons whisper, memories tempt, yet his mind is stiller than moonlight on water. Then, at the moment just before dawn, a star blazes in the east, and Siddhārtha Gautama opens his eyes. What he sees is neither God nor scripture, but the delicate machinery of suffering and the path that ends it. Welcome to episode 7 of The World's Religions. Tonight we walk the middle way of Buddhism, a path that begins with a single awakening under a tree and spirals into chant of 10,000 monasteries, from the snows of Tibet to the skyscrapers of Tokyo and the mindfulness apps of Silicon Valley. Part 1 explores a prince's renunciation, the life of Siddhārtha Gautama. First, turning of the wheel, the Four Noble Truths and Noble Eightfold Path, building the Sangha, monastic code, lay support, and the Buddha's final days, councils, canons, and the early spread from Magadha to Sri Lanka, Theravada's southern journey, Mahayana's great departure, emptiness and the bodhisattva ideal. Crossing the Himalayas, Buddhism in China and Korea. Part 2 will carry us through Vajrayāna's thunderbolt tantra, the Zen riddles of Japan, colonial challenges, social engaged Buddhism, and 21st century global networks. 1. A Prince's Renunciation, the Life of Siddhārtha Gautama. 1.1 Birth Amid Prophecy. Most Theravadan chronologies place Siddhārtha Gautama's birth in 623 BCE. Many modern scholars suggest circa 480 to 400 BCE. He is born in Lumbini, modern Nepal, to King Shuddhodana of the Shakya clan and Queen Maya, who dreams of a white elephant entering her side, omen of greatness. Within 7 days, Maya dies. Siddhārtha is raised by his aunt Mahaprajapat, foreshadowing the Buddha's later embrace of women renunciants. 1.2 The Four Sights. Coddled in opulence, the young prince excels at martial arts and philosophy, yet destiny intervenes when he slips beyond palace walls and beholds old age, sickness, death. A serene ascetic. Realizing that no silk cushion shields from decay, he resolves to seek an exit from suffering, dukkha. 1.3 Great Departure and Ascetic Extremes. At 29, after the birth of his son Rahula, Siddhārtha rides away on his horse Kanthaka, hair shorn, jewels discarded. For 6 years, he practices breath detention, thorn beds, and grain of rice fasting with 5 ascetics. Yet these extremes bring only emaciation. Accepting milk rice from a village girl Sujata, he rejects self-mortification, forging the middle way. 1.4 Awakening beneath the Bodhi tree. Seated under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, vow unbroken, let my skin and bones wither, but I will not rise until enlightenment. Mara, lord of delusion, assails him with armies and seductive daughters. Siddhārtha touches the earth, Bhumisparsha Mudra, calling the ground to witness his countless past lives. At dawn, he penetrates 4 noble truths, experiences nirvana, unbinding. He is now Buddha, awakened one, and Tathagata, thus come. Second turning of the wheel. Core Dharma. 2.1 The first sermon at Deer Park. In Sarnath, he meets his former ascetic companions, delivers Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, setting in motion the wheel of Dharma, articulating dukkha, life is unsatisfactory. Samudaya, craving causes dukkha. Nirodha, cessation is possible. Magga, path to cessation, the noble Eightfold Path. 2.2 Eightfold Path. Ethics, meditation, wisdom. Wisdom, panya. Ethics, esala. Meditation, samadhi. Right view, right speech, right effort, right intention, right action, right mindfulness, right livelihood, right concentration. Progress is cyclical. Ethics cleans mind, meditation clarifies, wisdom uproots craving, reinforcing ethics. 2.3 Anatta and impermanence. Distinctive doctrine, anatta, no permanent soul. Alongside anicca, impermanence, and dukkha, it forms the 3 marks of existence, dismantling Brahmanical Atman. Third, building the Sangha. 3.1 Vinaya, discipline as architecture. Buddha ordains monks, bhikkhu, and, after Mahaprajapataka's plea, nuns, bhikkhun. The Vinaya Pitaka accrues 227 precepts for monks, 311 for nuns. Offences range from parajika, major, expulsion, to minor etiquette. Purpose, cradle awakening, not legalism. 3.2 Lay devotees and the gift of food. Householders, upasaka, upasika, undertake 5 precepts: no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, intoxicants, support monastics via alms. In return, Sangha offers teachings and merit transfer. Symbiosis births earliest welfare system, monasteries as hospitals, granaries. 3.3 The Buddha's Final Days. At 80, Buddha eats a meal, maybe tainted pork, mushrooms, from Smith Kunda. Sensing death, he walks to Kushinagara, lies between twin shala trees, and tells Ananda, "Impermanent are all compounded things. Strive unceasingly." He passes into parinirvana. His relics are divided among 8 states, later enshrined under stupas, becoming pilgrimage magnets. 4th Councils, Canons, and Early Spread. 4.1 First Council, Rajagra, circa 400 BCE. 500 arahants gather under Mahakashyapa. Ananda recites suttas, Upali recites Vinaya, oral canon set. 4.2 Second Council, Vaishal, circa 380 BCE. Dispute over lax monastic rules, using gold, eating after noon, leads to split. Stavira, elders versus Mahasamgika, seeds of future schools. 4.3 Emperor Ashoka and missionary Dharma. In 3rd century BCE, Ashoka Maurya converts after Kalinga war carnage. He convenes 3rd Council, Pataliputra, to purge corruption, dispatches missionaries, Mahinda to Sri Lanka, BCE 250, converting King Devanampiya Tissa. Founding Theravada stronghold. Envoys to Gandhara, Alexandria, and possibly Myanmar. Ashoka's edicts on pillars advocate ahimsa, religious tolerance, and public healthcare, making him history's first Buddhist ruler and a model for later kings from Siam to Japan. 4.4 Fourth Council. Theravada counts Fourth Council in Sri Lanka, 1st century BCE, under King Vetagamani. Tipitaka finally written on palm leaves in Pali at Alu Vihara caves, safeguarding against famine memory loss. Sarvastivada tradition holds another in Kashmir under Kanishka, 2nd century CE, compiling Sanskrit Mahavibhasa, philosophical bedrock for Central Asian Buddhism. 5. Theravada's Southern Journey. 5.1 Lanka's Golden Chronicles. Text: Dapavamsa and Mahavamsa narrate Sinhalese kingship fused to Sangha. Monks craft Pali commentaries. Scholar Buddhaghosa, 5th century, synthesizes in Visuddhimagga, Manual of Meditation Jhanas and Abhidhamma Psychology. 5.2 Southeast Asia. Region entry. Highlights. Myanmar, 5th century, firm under pagan king Anarata, 11th century. Shwezigon Pagoda houses Ashokan relics. Meditation traditions merge with forest hermits. Thailand, Mondavaravat era, re-imported from Sri Lanka, 13th century. Sukhothai kings style themselves Dharmaraja. Modern Thai forest tradition, Ajahn Mun, revives wilderness practice. Cambodia and Laos, 13th century via Sri Lankan monks. Angkor Wat converts from Mahayana to Theravada amidst Khmer decline. Theravada emphasizes Pali canon, arahant ideal, satipatthana mindfulness. 6. Mahayana's Great Departure. 6.1 Origins and Sutra Explosion. Around 1st century BCE to 1st century CE, new scriptures arise along Silk Road, Prajnaparamita Sutras, perfection of wisdom. Heart and Diamond Sutras proclaim shunyata, emptiness. Lotus Sutra, one vehicle, ekayana, universal Buddhahood. Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara, Pure Land. Sutras, devotional faith in Amitabha. Buddha ensures rebirth in bliss realm. 6.2 Philosophical Schools. School founder key teachings. Madhyamaka, Nagarjuna, 2nd century. Shunyata, two truths, conventional and ultimate, reality beyond concepts. Yogacara, Sitamatra. Asanga and Vasubandhu, 4th century. Consciousness only, 8 consciousnesses, including storehouse, Alaya Vijnana. Tathagata Garbha, various sutras. All beings possess Buddha nature, like gold in ore. 6.3 Bodhisattva Path. Ideal shifts from personal arahant liberation to bodhisattva who vows, sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them. The 6 paramitas, generosity to wisdom, replace Eightfold Path as scaffolding. 7. Crossing the Himalayas, Buddhism in China and Korea. 7.1 Silk Road Transmission. 1st century CE, Han envoy meets Kashmir monks. White horse carries sutras to Luoyang. Kumarajva, 4th century, produces lucid Chinese translations. Lotus, Vimalakarti. Faxian, 5th century, pilgrimages to India, returns with Vinaya texts. Xuanzang, 7th century, brings Yogacara treatises, inspiring epic novel Journey to the West. 7.2 Chinese Schools. School founder emphasis. Tiantai, Tendai in Japan. Ji, Lotus Sutra, threefold truth, emptiness, provisional, middle. Huayan, Kaigon. Fazang, interpenetration, Indra's net of all phenomena. Chan, Zen, Bodhidharma, 6th century. Direct mind-to-mind transmission, meditation, koan riddles. Pure Land, Jodo. Tanluan Shandao, Amitabha recitation, Nien Pho for rebirth. 7.3 Korean flowering. Three kingdoms adopt Buddhism, 4th to 7th century. Scholar monk Wonyo drinks skullcup water, realizes mind creates purity and impurity, preaches popular faith, merging Huayan with lay devotion. Interlude and preview of Part 2. The wheel continues west to Tibet and east to Japan. Thunderbolt mantras and ink-brush koans are waiting. We will meet tantric siddhas, samurai Zen masters, colonial skeptics, and neuroscientists scanning monks' brains. Episode 7. The Middle Way. Buddhism. Wind moves through blue prayer flags strung between two cedars. One whispers Sanskrit, the other Chinese. The cloth, sun-faded and frayed, still carries the same wish: may all beings be free from suffering. Our path resumes where the caravans of silk and scripture left us, on the shoulders of Asia, before descending into our century, where meditation sits beside MRI scanners and monks live-stream the evening chant. In this half, we travel through Vajrayāna's thunderbolt, the Zen of ink and silence, the reform movements that met the modern world, and the complicated face of global Buddhism today. Along the way, we'll keep our feet on practice, what Buddhists actually do, so the story stays grounded in breath, bowl, and bell. 8. The Thunderbolt Vehicle. Vajrayāna and the Himalayan World. 8.1. What Tantra is and isn't. Vajrayāna means the diamond thunderbolt vehicle, a path that uses mantra, mudra, ritual gestures, visualization, and mandala to transform mind swiftly. The theory is simple and daring. Ordinary experience is already the display of emptiness and luminosity. If you assume the perspective of a Buddha, body, speech, and mind, right now, you cut through habits faster than gradual practice alone. This is not license for excess. It is a discipline layered on top of earlier vows. A tantric practitioner keeps the basic pratimoksha precepts, the bodhisattva vow, and adds tantric samaya commitments. Breaking these is considered especially corrosive because the method leans on trust and precision. 8.2 Tibet, from court to monastery. Songtsen Gampo, 7th century, unifies Tibet, sponsors temples. Tradition says his queens from Nepal and China bring Buddhist images. Trisong Detsen, R. 755-797, invites Indian scholar Shantaraksita and tantric adept Padmasambhava. They establish Samye, Tibet's first monastery, and train translators to seed a textual culture. The so-called Samye debate, late 8th century, pits Chinese sudden awakening against Indian gradual cultivation. The court sides with the Indian line. Modern historians caution the story is more complex, anchoring Tibetan scholasticism to Nalanda-style logic and ethics. Tibet's traditions later differentiate. Nyingma, ancient, preserves early tantras, and the visionary Dzogchen, great perfection, which points directly to primordial awareness. Kagyu grows from the translator Marpa and the yogi poet Milarepa. It treasures Mahamudra, the Great Seal, and the 6 yogas of Naropa, including Tomo, inner heat. Sakya refines scholastic tantra and diplomacy. Sakya Pandita engages the Mongol court, modeling the patron-priest alliance. Geluk, founded by Tsongkhapa, 1357-1419, emphasizes monastic discipline and a rigorous Madhyamaka analysis. The Dalai Lama lineage arises here. In 1578, Mongol leader Ultan Khan bestows the title Dalai, Ocean, on Sonam Gyatso, counted as the 3rd. By the 17th century, the 5th Dalai Lama consolidates temporal power, and the Ganden Phodrang government rules from Lhasa. Monastic universities, Ganden, Sera, Drepung, train scholars in philosophical debate, a fast-paced dialectic where monks clap thunderously to punctuate each question. 8.3 Arts of Awakening. Thangka paintings and sand mandalas map the awakened mind. When the sand is swept away, impermanence becomes tactile. Prayer flags, lungta, wind horse, carry aspirations with the breeze. Prayer wheels transmit the mantra's sound by spin. Cham dances with towering masks and drums enact the victory of wisdom over confusion. 8.4 The 20th Century and Diaspora. In 1959, after an uprising against Chinese rule, the 14th Dalai Lama flees to India. Tens of thousands follow. Monasteries are refounded in exile, dharamsala, bilakupe. Tibetan Buddhism spreads quickly to Europe and North America. Teachers like Chogyam Trungpa, Dilgo Khyentse, Karmapa lineage, and Pema Chodron translate practices for new audiences. The Dalai Lama becomes a global voice for compassion and non-violence, while Tibetans inside China navigate tight restrictions amid a revival of monastery life in some regions. 8.5 Bhutan and the Vajrayāna state. Bhutan, shaped by Drukpa Kagyu, incorporates Buddhism into governance through gross national happiness, a policy framework privileging community, culture, and ecology alongside GDP, an example of Buddhist ethics informing public policy. 9. From ink and sword to tea and silence, East Asian Zen and Japanese Buddhism. 9.1 China's Chan and the turn to mind. Chan, Zen in Japanese, arises in China around the 6th to 7th centuries, emphasizing direct insight over scripture. Stories of Bodhidharma facing a wall for 9 years and Huineng's sudden awakening echo a single refrain. Look directly at mind. Methods include silent illumination and Gongwan Koan, paradoxical cases that short-circuit discursive thought. 9.2 Korea and the Peninsula blend. Korean Sun integrates meditative rigor with scholastic learning. The monk Wonyo famously drinks water from a skull in the dark, finds it foul at dawn, and realizes purity and impurity are mind-made, a parable cherished across East Asia. 9.3 Japan's layered landscape. Nara period imports 6 schools: Kusha, Jojitsu, Ritsu, Sanron, Hosso, Keigon. Heian era brings Tendai, Saisho, and Shingon, Kukai. Tendai centers on Lotus Sutra and a comprehensive practice curriculum. Shingon codifies esoteric Mikyo with mantra, mudra, and mandala via the teachings of Vajrayāna. Kamakura period, 12th to 13th century, births new, lay-oriented paths for an age of war. Pure Land. Honen teaches simple Nembutsu chanting, Namu Amida Butsu, entrusting oneself to Amida Buddha. Shinran deepens radical grace in Jodo Shinshu, where even the good rely on Amida's vow. Nichiren proclaims the Lotus Sutra the sole vehicle. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo becomes both devotional and activist. Zen arrives through Eisai, Rinzai, and Dogen, Soto. Rinzai uses koan introspection and sharp interviews to cut through. Soto practices shikantaza, just sitting, trusting that sitting is itself Buddha's activity. Dogen's Shobogenzo explores impermanence and practice realization with philosophical brilliance. 9.4 Arts and Ethics. Zen-shaped tea ceremony, chanoyu, ink painting, and archery, arts where concentration and simplicity reveal form. Yet history is mixed. Some Zen leaders endorsed Japanese militarism before 1945. The post-war era saw repentance and reform, with teachers like Shunryu Suzuki and Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen master, modeling gentle presence. 9.5 Modern Japanese movements. Soka Gakkai, a lay Nichiren organization, founded mid-20th century, emphasizes personal empowerment and peace advocacy, with a global footprint and political arm, Komeito, in Japan. Other currents, Risho Kosei-kai, Shin communities, focus on social welfare and interfaith dialogue. 10. Theravada renewed. Forests, Vipassana, and Southeast Asia. 10.1 Sri Lanka's revival. Under colonial rule, Buddhism wavered. The Pali Text Society, founded 1881, and Anagarika Dharmapala sparked a revival, reconnecting Sri Lankans with the canon and inspiring lay activism. In the 20th century, meditation teachers reopened the contemplative core that had grown quiet in some monastic centers. 10.2 Myanmar's meditation renaissance. Two influential lineages reshaped global practice. Mahasi Sayadaw taught a noting form of vipassana based on the Satipatthana Sutta, observing sensations, feelings, mind states, and phenomena in real time. U Ba Kin, a lay teacher, trained S.N. Goenka, who brought 10-day courses to the world beginning in the 1970s. Millions have since learned this non-sectarian, donation-based approach. 10.3 Thailand's forest tradition. Reacting to urban monastic laxity, Ajahn Mun Buddhadatta, 1870 to 1949, revived wilderness practice, secluded meditation, austere discipline, and mindfulness in each breath and footstep. His disciples, Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Mahabua, established monasteries now found from Ubon to Oxford and California. 10.4 Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. The Khmer Rouge decimated Cambodia's Sangha in the 1970s. The revival since the 1990s has rebuilt thousands of pagodas. Laos kept Buddhism alive under socialist oversight. Vietnam's Thien, Zen, blends with Pure Land. Thich Nhat Hanh coined engaged Buddhism, linking mindfulness to peacemaking during the war and later founding Plum Village in France, where a global community practices interbeing. 11. What Buddhists do. A field guide to practice. 11.1 Ethics. S. Ella. Most lay Buddhists keep 5 precepts: avoid killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, and intoxicants. On observance days, they may adopt 8 precepts, adding celibacy, fasting after noon, and simplicity in dress and bed. Monastics live under extensive Vinaya rules. Mahayana adds bodhisattva vows, promises to act for all beings' benefit. 11.2 Meditation, Bhavana. Shamatha, calm. Settle attention using breath, a kasina, visual object, or loving kindness. Vipassana, insight. Examine impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self in sensations. See their rise and fall. Brahma Viharas, cultivate metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, upekkha, equanimity. Zen, zazen, either koan focus, rinzai, or shikantaza, soto. Tibetan, deity yoga, analytic meditation on emptiness, lojong, mind training slogans, tonglen, giving and taking, dzogchen, mahamudra, resting in awareness. 11.3 Ritual and devotion. Chanting, Pali Suttas, Nembutsu, Amida, Om Mani Padme Hum, Avalokiteshvara, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Lotus. Stupa circumambulation, prostrations as embodied humility. Vesak, Buddha's birth, awakening, parinirvana, lights up cities from Colombo to Kuala Lumpur. Obon in Japan remembers ancestors. Losar in Tibet marks New Year with masked dances. 11.4 Community and livelihood. Monasteries serve as schools, clinics, and counseling centers. Dana, generosity, supports the Sangha. In return, monks and nuns offer teachings and presence. Right livelihood encourages professions that do not harm, an ethic shaping choices from butchery to weapons manufacture in Buddhist societies. 12. Buddhism meets modernity, science, secular mindfulness, and humanistic Buddhism. 12.1 Dialogue with Science. From the 19th century onward, Scholars translated canon and framed Buddhism as empirical introspection. In the late 20th, neuroscientists, for example, research programs in Wisconsin and Massachusetts, measured long-term meditators' attention, compassion, and neural plasticity. The Dalai Lama's mind and life dialogues fostered labs studying meditation's effects on stress and immune function. Results are nuanced, but suggest trainable attention and affect. 12.2 Mindfulness goes mainstream. In 1979, John Kabat-Zinn launched MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, a secular 8-week course. Variants now permeate clinics, schools, prisons, and apps. Benefits: reduced anxiety and improved emotional regulation for many sit beside critiques. McMindfulness can neglect ethics and social context. Teachers warn against stripping practice from compassion and community. 12.3 Humanistic and Socially Engaged Buddhism. In Taiwan, Foguangshan, Xingyun, Dharma Drum Mountain, Shengyan, and Suqi, Chengyan combine meditation with hospitals, disaster relief, and environmental projects, humanistic Buddhism. Engaged Buddhists, from Thich Nhat Hanh to Thai activist Sulak Sivaraksa, apply precepts to war, poverty, and ecology. Gross national happiness in Bhutan and Thailand's sufficiency economy are policy echoes of Buddhist moderation. 13. Tangles and shadows. Violence, nationalism, and scandals. Buddhism's ideals do not immunize societies from politics. Sri Lanka. Some monks allied with Sinhala Buddhist nationalism during civil war. Post-war, others now press reconciliation and anti-hate education. Myanmar. Monastic figures like Ashin Wirathu have stoked anti-Muslim fear. Violence against Rohingya drew global condemnation and strong criticism from Buddhist leaders across traditions. Japan. Scholars documented parts of the pre-1945 Buddhist establishment blessing imperial war. Later generations issued apologies and pursued peace education. The West has faced sexual misconduct and abuse scandals in several sanghas. Communities have responded by creating ethics councils, trauma-informed training, and transparent governance. Buddhism's spread has forced the age-old sangha to learn organizational accountability. 14. Women, ordination, and changing norms. From Mahaprajapāt, the Buddha's foster mother and first nun, to medieval abbesses in China and Japan, women have always practiced, though often with fewer resources. In modern times, bhikkhun ordination revived in Sri Lanka, 1998, after centuries of lapse, spreading to Vietnam and Taiwan. Thailand's canonical status remains contested, but pioneers like Dhammananda Bhikkhun persevere. Tibetan Buddhism now recognizes Geshe degrees, highest scholastic credential for nuns. International nunneries flourish. Lay leaders, many women, guide meditation centers worldwide, expanding models of authority. LGBTQ+ inclusion varies. Western sanghas tend to affirm equality. Some Asian settings maintain conservative views, though urban centers are shifting. 15. Philosophy in focus, dependent origination, emptiness, and Buddha. Nature. 15.1 Dependent origination, pratitya samutpada. At the heart of Buddhist analysis is this claim. Things arise in dependence on causes and conditions. Therefore, they are empty of fixed essence. Seeing this is not nihilism. It loosens clinging and opens compassion because everything interis. 15.2 Emptiness and Two Truths. Madhyamaka states, ultimately, all phenomena are empty. Conventionally, cause and effect still operate. Wisdom recognizes both without reifying either. Ethical life is possible precisely because conventional truth functions. 15.3 Consciousness only and the storehouse. Yogacara explores how perception is filtered through habitual patterns lodged in the alaya vijnana, storehouse consciousness. This resonates with modern psychology's schemas and implicit bias, though the frameworks differ. 15.4 Buddha Nature, Tathagata Garbha. Some sutras teach that all beings have Buddha nature, not a soul, but a potential, like gold buried in dirt. This idea fuels confidence. Practice uncovers what's already there. 15.5 Rebirth and No Self. Buddhism rejects a permanent soul, yet ancient Buddhists taught rebirth of karmic streams. Modern Buddhists vary. Some accept literal rebirth, others read it metaphorically as the way actions echo through families and cultures. The tradition leaves room for philosophical nuance, so long as practice reduces greed, hate, and delusion. 16. Global Buddhism. Now. Diasporas, digital sanghas, and the planetary crisis. 16.12 Streams, one river. Scholars sometimes distinguish ethnic Buddhism, communities from historically Buddhist cultures, and convert Buddhism, new practitioners in the West. In reality, the streams blend. Cambodian temples in California host teen mindfulness classes. American Zen centers partner with Vietnamese pagodas for Lunar New Year. 16.2 Digital Practice. Live stream chants, Zoom retreats, and meditation apps knit digital sanghas. Advantages: access and inclusion. Risks: disembodiment, consumer mindset. Many communities now use a hybrid model, online teaching, in-person retreats, to keep intimacy with scale. 16.3 Climate and Compassionate Action. From Himalayan glacier melt to Pacific typhoons, Buddhist regions face climate upheaval. Monasteries plant forests. Thai ecology monks ordain trees with saffron robes to protect them. Joanna Macy's work that reconnects draws on Buddhist interdependence for climate resilience circles. The eco-sattva training movement invites practitioners to bind vows to the earth. 17. Epilogue. The quiet thunder of the middle way. Night again. Under a bodhi tree somewhere, maybe in Bihar, maybe in your backyard, someone is watching the breath as it leaves and returns. A moth taps a lamp. A child laughs in the next room. The city hums. Suffering moves through the world like weather. So does kindness. Buddhism began with a man who refused both extremes, neither indulgence nor self-torture, and offered a path as practical as it is profound. Look closely, act ethically, train attention, and discover that the self you cling to is lighter than you feared. Over 2,500 years, that method has worn many robes: yellow in Sri Lanka, maroon in Lhasa, black in Kyoto. It has sung in Pali and whispered in Chinese, argued in Sanskrit and smiled in silence. It has also, like every human tradition, stumbled, compromised, and learned. In a disoriented century, Buddhism's gifts are strikingly ordinary: a way to be with pain without turning it into hatred, a way to love without making the beloved an object, a way to work without being worked by our wishes, a way to see that everything we are depends on everything else. If you've ever taken one conscious breath, you have already tasted the middle way. Perhaps that is why the Dharma keeps traveling on sandal soles, on caravan wheels, in typeset pages, through fiber optic cables. It does not demand belief first, it invites experiment. Look for yourself. If it reduces suffering, keep going. If not, adjust. As the Buddha is reported to have said, "Be a lamp unto yourselves." The bell rings, its tone spreads, fades, and is gone. The quiet after is not emptiness, but room. Room enough for the world and your next step upon its path.